whole time, but what them Bears?
Still alive. Let's go.
The Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Bottle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000, don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
What a great sign that is. What have I told you? 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought.
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Good practice, everybody. There you go.
You are ridiculous. Too much of your time, so you can tell me to shut up whenever you're ready, Charles. But you mentioned it wouldn't be the first time somebody's telling me to shut up, so I'm used to it. So David Montgomery, you mentioned David Montgomery, and he had a great game last week, and it just seems like a guy that is so tough to bring down. Where is his ceiling in this league? Can he be one of the top 5 running backs in this league?
Give him the ball. Let him.
Oh my God! I've been screaming it all year.
We'll see. You know what I'm saying? Feed that man. We'll see where he'll be up. I'm not gonna say he could be one of the top 5. I'm not gonna do none of that. Get that man the ball. You see how he runs, and his play will decide. And you know what I mean? That's how I look at it for David. Absolutely. I think he would say the same thing.
David Montgomery. right. Give that man the ball, as Charles Leno would say, and look at him go. Clocked over 20 miles per hour, Jake. You know, everybody says this guy doesn't have breakaway speed, but there he is, starting off the game last week with a bang. And, you know, it's kind of ignited, you know, what a lot of Bears fans, there's a good majority I'm reading on Twitter that's starting to already get those playoff vibes a rocking, even after only one win. You know, it feels like, you know, 5 wins after not being able to do anything on offense for 2 months. And you see it here. But, you know, the way the offensive line is blocking, look at that hole they opened up for David Montgomery. And that was the first play of the game. So then that opens up everything else on the offense. And you saw it. The Bears ran one going away against the Houston Texans. And now the pivotal game of the season, Bears Vikings this Sunday, lose and you're done. Win, and all of a sudden playoff hopes are a very real possibility, and guys like Chubbs are going to be beating their chest. They will be, because you play the Jaguars the next week, and then who knows what the Packers' intentions of playing their starters would be the final week. But first things first, Bears Vikings. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr., and this is my co-host, Jacob Hovanek, producer, graphic design extraordinaire, and everything else in between. And we're here to break it down. You know, we have Chris Emma from 670 The Score coming on here in just a few moments. And, you know, I've got some good sound and some good sound bites from the press conference we saw from yesterday with Mitch, and a few thoughts that I had before we brought him on, Jake. So we'll get right into it. And Chris Emma, are, you know, the man of the hour that we're having on here in a little bit from 670 The Score, asked Mitch Trubisky about what his motivations are now that he's been through all his trials and tribulations.
Emma?
Mitch, you've spoken this season, really before the season, even about the motivation that you had, and, you know, having the 5th-year option decline and what you wanted to prove. Now that you're kind of in this micro of these final few games left of this season, did you draw motivation from the idea that you might be playing for your next contract and kind of what you can prove here?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to go out there and put good plays on tape at the end of the day, because that's your legacy. And at the end of the day, we're out here living a dream, and I want to make the most out of every single opportunity. But at the same time, to get the most out of that, I think for me, is just staying focused in the moment and taking it one game at a time. So my complete focus is on the Minnesota Vikings and just taking it this game. And I'm not really thinking or planning anything beyond that at this point. And I know it'll all work out, because you just work really hard for every opportunity, and the hard work will pay off. So I'm just focused on staying in the moment, and then whatever happens, happens.
A very calm, cool, and collected Mitchell Trubisky at the press conference. Jake, you know, we didn't get to do a post-game show. I've been having computer snafus. I'm still using a temporary laptop. Paid all this money for one, and it got stolen by Best Buy. So we didn't get a post-game show. What were your thoughts, you know, after watching Mitchell Trubisky look so calm, cool, and collected against Houston Texans? Everyone thought that it was going to be Deshaun Watson's day. I mean, they've been beating that storyline to death here in Chicago, you know, of who was drafted over Mitchell Trubisky, and he won the day. What were your thoughts, you know, seeing Mitch execute the offense in the way that he did?
I was proud of the way he played. I thought the O-line is finally in a place that it probably should have been a lot sooner. And that falls on the evaluation of Matthew Nagy.
Bingo.
That really irritates me when I sit and dwell on that. But now that the line really looks good, I think Sam Mustipher really showing out the way he has is extraordinary news for the Bears, because it really opens up the possibilities of what they can do on the O-line, one for the rest of the year, and especially next year going into next season. Because if you can put James at guard, and you can put I can't think of his name.
Cody
Whitehair at the other guard spot, and you pick up a tackle or something like that. All of a sudden, you're looking at a pretty solid lineup there. So they have a good situation right now with this line. They're performing really well. Mitch looks really comfortable. It looks like they're kind of getting him out of the pocket a lot, letting him play from under center, which he excelled at earlier in the year. I saw a lot of people smarter than me suggesting that they were kind of letting him just make half of the field reads and when you're rolling them out and stuff like that. So, those are the things that he excels in, and he's done a really good job doing it. The other thing I saw was the way that he was talking about speaking up if he doesn't like a play or he doesn't like this, or saying what he does like. And that's really key to him to be honest, because Nagy wants to run what he wants to run, but it might not be what's set to Mitch's strengths. So if he feels emboldened now to make those calls and say, hey, here's where I succeed, and they're listening to him, that only will be beneficial going forward. So I was proud of him.
100%. And I'm right there with you with the offensive line. You see in this picture, I mean, when is the last time you saw a hole this big opened up, and just the way they turn the guys out? And Alex Bars and Sam Mustipher are getting big, credit for being the first guys to pick guys up from the pile, first guys to get into the end zone for the touchdown. I think Barlissimo pointed this out a few weeks ago on Twitter. And then I saw Adam Johns make note of it after this last game, and that kind of things energize a team. And now you've got the right mixture on the offensive line. Now you're calling plays the way you prefer it, and you're dipped into something that I want to get into here, because Mitch had a few more thoughts that I earmarked here, and this was Mark Potash asking Mitch about his comfort zone in the offense, and then we'll work our way to Mitch talking about him dictating maybe the way the plays are being called. So this was Mitch talking about his comfort zone first.
Hey Mitch, do you feel like you're in more of a comfort zone with this offense now compared to where you were at the beginning of the season? Because it just seems like everything's more tailored to your strengths. I mean, moving the pocket, up tempo, even Kmet being a bigger factor now than he was as first game. It just seems like the offense is better. Is that just kind of a mischaracterization? What do you think about that?
I do feel comfortable. I mean, after getting benched and then being able to go back in, this is just kind of some of the things that I've been asking for. And I feel like there are strengths of mine and also strengths of this offense. And I just thought it was a good idea to get Cole more involved, to get David more involved, to get A-Rob more involved. You just got to get the ball to your playmakers out in space and stretch the field horizontally and vertically, but also keeping the defense off balance. And I think the change in tempos really helps this offense. I think moving the pocket really helps me and helps our offensive line, and also helps create run lanes. So these are things I'm very comfortable with, things I've been asking for. And I think everyone's buying into it. And I think we're starting to build an identity, and we just need to keep getting better and better. And at the end of the day, when we play 11 guys as one, and we're playing as a unit and we're executing, that's when the good plays will continue to happen.
Yeah, and like I said, I just see a more just level-headed approach for Mitch in these press conferences, less of the yips, so to speak, and I just think he is comfortable where he is at as far as, where he's going. I think he probably was really nervous going into this season, and now that things have unfolded the way they did, I do think he's finishing on a high. He's hoping to finish on a high mark, and that might land him a decent job somewhere else. It's not going to be in Chicago for those that think he's coming back. He's not. To me, we're not. I'm not taking that as a realistic possibility this week. They would have to pull some bigger miracles than what we saw last week for us to even delve into those kind of conversations as far as being realistic. Nick Foles has a player option, which he will pick up. And Mitch Trubisky his fifth-year option was declined. So the Bears would either have to franchise tag him, or Mitch would have to come here on some team-friendly one-year deal, which probably wouldn't happen depending on what the market is going to want for him, how this season ends. Yeah. But you certainly see a Mitch more comfortable in his own skin. And I think it's because he learned a little something from Nick Foles being in as the starter. And before I get to that point, let's hear Mitch Trubisky talk about him being more vocal as far as the game plan and the plays that he wants to see called while he's under center.
Hey, Mitch, you're talking about these changes that you went to the coaching staff and asked for, and how they've had such a positive impact on the offense. Why didn't you ask for them earlier, or did you ask for them earlier and they just weren't willing to implement them at that time? And how do you think, had they started earlier, things might be different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess you never know. I was asking. I was always putting my input in. But but you can't change the past. So we are where we are now, and the offense has progressing over the last few weeks. And all we can do is try to stay on this path that we are now and keep getting better. Can't change the past. I can't put myself back in the game weeks ago or anything like that, but it's got to continue with this constant communication, just having the open dialogue and always doing what is best for the Bears offense.
Last one, Dan, go ahead.
So I found that to be really interesting from Mitchell Trubisky, because this is something I sensed earlier in the season when we saw Nick Foles come in to the Bears offense as the starting quarterback, and you started to hear different things, from Brian Greasy talking about how Nick Foles, told him that, Matt Nagy runs plays that take too long to develop, and my offensive line isn't, capable of blocking it up long enough to run the plays that he wants. And I thought in that exact moment, is Mitch old enough in his tenure as a quarterback in this league to question a coach in that way, on a play development when, as he's sitting in the film room and they're like, Mitch, you got to hit that play. And he's sitting in there and said, like, I can't, but should I say that? Cause I'll sound like a bum, and I think you get to a point in your career where you understand the do's and don'ts. And we saw this on the sidelines, and everyone made fun of Mitch here in this moment because Nick Foles is telling Matt Nagy, hey, we need to go fast here. And you can see how animated he is about what he wants. And Mitch is kind of looking there like, I think, in my opinion, I think he learned something in that moment. Like, hey, I can make suggestions to my head coach that, I just, to me, it's an experience thing. And now that he's into the offense, I think he's asserting himself more in that way. And, with that being said, we do have a special guest coming on, and I'd love to have his input on this from 670 The Score. He's been doing a lot of hard work on the Bears beat, and this year has been a crazy year, and we've needed the Bears beat now more than ever, with the fans I'm not allowed to go in the stands and harass anybody. And Chris, welcome to the show. You reached an olive branch out to the podcasters of this world, and saying, hey, I'd love to be able to come on and chop it up. And I appreciate that because, we want to know what's going on inside the locker room, or as much access as you guys get, because we haven't been able to go to camp, we haven't been able to go to the game. So for you to be able to put that out there and extend that olive branch is much appreciated. So welcome to Brags in the Stands, Chris, Emma. What are your thoughts here watching Mitchell Trubisky here these last few weeks? Do you believe he's in a different comfort zone, or is this just playing the bad competition that they have been playing?
Well, I just wanted to be on Brags on the Stands first and foremost. That thing out on Twitter, but this is the big invite, so thanks for having me. I guess you got to preface it. Everyone wants to preface yes, it was bad defense. The Texans are a bad defense. He picked them apart. Lions are a bad defense. Picked them apart. But that being said, there's some significant stuff that's come of this, and you see Matt Nagy finally adjust this offense to the quarterback that Trubisky is instead of the quarterback that he was supposed to be. You're seeing Nagy finally build this offense around the quarterback that he knows can operate in a different way in terms of moving the pocket, fewer reads, simplified, stretching the field horizontally and vertically. Trubisky's put his input this in, which he revealed to us, and Matt Nagy said, yeah, he agrees. He said, yeah, this is something that Trubisky's really kind of brought forth within this offense. And you're seeing the results. It should have happened years ago, frankly. I think it's got to be maddening that it took this long for Nagy to really kind of build this offense for his quarterback. But Nagy's done trying to make Trubisky into Patrick Mahomes or Alex Smith or somebody else. He's finally making this offense for Mitch Trubisky.
Absolutely. Do you think that we were showing the clip of Nick Foles kind of very animated talking to Matt Nagy about what he wants on the sidelines. Do you think that was, a light bulb moment for Mitch? That he's like, I'm sure he looked up to Matt Nagy when Matt first got here as this quarterback guru, offensive, genius coming from Kansas City. How can he ever question his coach? He just wants to execute the plays that Matt tells him to. But was that a moment when Nick Foles was kind of like, no, dude? Do you think Mitch was like, oh, maybe my coach doesn't know everything? Do you think that was that kind of a moment for him?
It's funny. I hadn't thought about that until you just brought that one up. I'm actually writing my tailgater column for 670thescore.com about this very topic. And I I thought about that exchange because that was a really notable exchange when it happened. That exchange between Foles and Nagy, and yeah, I kind of forgot that Trubisky was right there as you guys showed up, hearing everything. I mean, it's maybe it is a part of it. But Trubisky also said straight up that he's been asking for some of these changes for a while. I thought feeling too because Nagy, to counter that, said, he's very confident, he's very strong-minded. Nagy essentially said he had to have an open mind to hear Trubisky's changes, and he also said when he was there in Kansas City for 5 seasons with Andy Reid and them and Alex Smith as his quarterback, they didn't need to change too much of the offense. They didn't need to make these kind of adjustments or let alone to change the entire identity as the Bears have now. So this is all new to Nagy, and it's really something that he didn't say it, but I think he seems to be acknowledging he should have been doing this a while ago.
And speaking of things that needed to be done a while ago, to me, he has not been able to get a handle on this offensive line dating all the way back to week 1 of last year. He had Kyle Long in when it was clear he was passed. Even Kyle Long said it himself, he was done. He had Cody Whitehair at center, Jans Daniels at left guard. Then they switched back and forth last year. Then this year they're switching again. Now Sam Mustipher looks like the better fit. Alex Bars has entered in because of injury. What are your thoughts with this new look offensive line, the holes they were creating? Do you think Sam Mustipher is someone that will stick into the 2021 season? And do you think that they're going to use their, first couple picks to upgrade at tackle, or do you like what you've seen here last week? And is this something that they can build off of?
I think it's an important development for the Bears and really kind of an unexpected one that they've suddenly solidified their interior perhaps for next season, and who knows from there. They found something with Sam Mustipher and Alex Bars, and obviously the connection was there from their time at Notre Dame. Mustipher was a good player at Notre Dame. Bars was an even better player, I thought, from my time watching him. And Bars is somebody who I thought was going to be a day 2 or early day 3 pick in that 2019 draft had it not been for the torn ACL. Mustipher was healthy. He seemed like he was kind of destined to become an undrafted free agent. There wasn't a lot of thought of him being drafted late in day 3, but he's also seen as a developmental player who could keep getting better and better. You hear the coaches constantly talk about how smart he is, and you're seeing the ascension of a young player, a guy who's continued to grow within his role, become more confident in terms of the commands he has at center, and really gathered really good respect from his teammates. Mustipher's your center probably for 21. I think Cody Whitehair is your left guard for 21, and I think Alex Bars is probably your right guard for 21. You have that interior set, but then you mentioned it too, the tackle position. It's been a problem, and it's something they need to address. I think the Bears, if I had to put my money on it now, I'd say their first-round pick, they're going to be drafting a tackle. I think they're going to be looking at that next blindside tackle and a really good tackle draft ahead in 21. So they could shore up that position. I don't know what this means for Charles Leno. I don't know what it means for Jermaine Effetting. We know Leno's better on the left side than the right side, but who knows what they do in that position. At the very least, you have that interior set.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And this is my co-host, Jake. And I always take like 5 minutes to introduce him. So I figure I'll let him fire away on a couple here and let him, give you the full court press.
Yeah. So this is obviously a huge game for the Bears. You beat the Vikings and you have a very clear path to making the playoffs. You have Jacksonville. You have a Packers team who is it's really possible that they are pulling their starters by time we're playing week 17 football, because they seem to be on a tear. They're winning games. They might have that first round bye wrapped up. So with that being said, if they lose against the Vikings, it makes getting to the playoffs extremely difficult, because you have that tiebreaker with the Vikings. More than likely, they would have to lose out. You win out. So let's say, for the sake of conversation, the Bears don't win on Sunday. What do you think happens in that building? Because there's been a lot of valid pressure on Ryan Pace for the job that he's done, pressure on Matt Nagy. What do you think it means to the building if they lose on Sunday?
It's funny. I've gotten that question so much the last few weeks, and it seems to evolve. I don't know. That's kind of the easy answer to say, but it's because I don't think George McCaskey knows. I don't think he's set on any decisions. I don't think he's really clearly made up his mind, because you said if they win Sunday, it's a huge catalyst toward the playoffs. It's a huge game in terms of a team you're up against with the tiebreakers, divisional opponent. You're in a good spot. Then you go to Jacksonville. Who knows where the Packers are going to be, as you said, for week 17. But if you lose it, just throw it out. They're not going to the playoffs. It's simple as that. I know there's scenarios. Forget about those scenarios. I think it really depends on how they finish out these final 3 games as a whole. And I thought last Sunday against the Texans was a big set of progress for them because you saw the defense had not quit. The defense was out there playing lights out, playing with emotionally charged football. And the offense finally is revealing, as we talked about, that complementary football, best suiting the quarterback and making the right decisions. That's Nagy's best hope to stay. At this point, if I had to say right now, I think Nagy's probably back. I'm not quite sure about Ryan Pace. And frankly, I'm really curious to know how George McCaskey and the Bears management will or maybe even have decided between Nagy and Pace and whether they see their roles within this team together or separate. It's going to be a really fascinating dynamic of how the Bears ownership, and of course it starts with Jordan McCaskey, more than Ted Phillips or anybody else. Does he view Pace differently from Nagy? And at the same time, does he, if he wants to get rid of Pace but keep Nagy, does he feel right to saddle a new general manager with a lame duck head coach? These are all questions that McCaskey has to ask himself. So it starts Sunday, and whether they can get a win. Obviously, if they get this win Sunday, it'd be a great win in terms of these playoff hopes and pushing them forward. But more so for somebody like a McCaskey, it would show that this team still has something left, that they're still fighting, and that there's still an opportunity maybe even in 21 where you don't feel as hopeless as you may have felt after that Lions game, for example.
Well, what do you believe, Chris? Because, to me, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are attached at the hip. Bears 100 a couple years ago. I'm watching them on the stage at the end, and they're like politicians up there, both of them. And it's like the president and the vice president. I don't see how they're not attached at the hip on this. And I'd be fine with that. I think a lot of Bears fans are timid to root for this team to win. Last week we had put a poll out, or Sylvie had put a poll out. Are you rooting for the Texans or the Bears? And he was asking Bears fans, and 70% were rooting for the Texans. I think most Bears fans would root for the Bears to make the playoffs if they knew that not making the playoffs meant that the clean house scenario that Sylvie has been pining for will happen. Do you believe that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, I know we have to wait and see what they'll do, but what do you think they will do? Do you think they are attached at the hip, or do you think that one can be separated from the other going into next year?
Oh, they can definitely be separated. It's easy to be attached to the hip when you're winning and things are going well. You mentioned like the Bears 100. First of all, that seems like 17 years ago. That seems like so long ago. And everything seemed good at the time. Remember, that was the time where the Bears' biggest issue was the kicker. And now, problems right now.
Now we got the kicker right.
Exactly. That's the one thing they can really feel good about. But it's easy to feel attached to the hip when things are going well. But when you hit adversity, that's when things start getting different. You feel, for example, this narrative we just talked about with the Nagy-Trubisky dynamic. Has Nagy been doing right by Trubisky? Is Trubisky frustrated with Nagy? I thought it was curious that Trubisky answered that question about his future in Chicago, saying he doesn't really know. I thought that was an easy opportunity to say, yeah, I want to be back. There's a lot of frustration that is underlying when you have this kind of adversity. And between Nagy and Pace, it starts with Trubisky. Nagy didn't draft Trubisky. That was Pace. Nagy was hired to develop Trubisky. It was his opportunity, and obviously there's a lot more that goes with being hired as Bears coach, but ultimately Nagy was hired because of Trubisky. He was saddled to this kid who obviously we've seen what he's become. I think Nagy's opportunity to stay and be separate from Pace is because of the Trubisky dynamic here.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I wonder if a lot of the changes that we see that end up being positive changes, like the shuffling the O-line, handing off play calling duties, going back to Mitch, even though the Foles injury was kind of a convenient segue to doing so, seems like the right decisions that could have been made weeks ago if maybe the pressure of losing your job wasn't as severe as it was at that time. So there's a lack of maybe awareness there that makes me worried. And I'm sure a lot of fans are worried about that. Matt didn't come to these conclusions a lot sooner, and this team couldn't have been in a much different position had he done that. I mean, Rashad Coward was on the line for way too long, and he was wrecking this offense in a lot of different ways. I'm granted there's a lot of other guys that weren't producing, but a lot of those decisions that a head coach should be aware of and make hard decisions at a time when the Bears were still in the hunt, and now we see what's happening. So I do think that's a detriment on Matt Nagy right there.
I agree. Yeah, and the further evidence we have is look at the 2019 season when they had a similar kind of offensive identity in late November, I think it was early December mainly, before that loss to the Packers. It was that 3-game stretch. The Bears won 3 straight, and they felt really good about themselves because they had an identity just like this, moving the pocket, utilizing Trubisky's mobility, trying to take advantage of a defense that way. It was 3 games, and then that Packers loss hit, and you go back to square one. Those final 2 games were tough. Obviously, they won Week 17, but you saw things kind of bottom out at the end of the 2019 season. And then there was no real opportunity for the Bears to establish this kind of identity at the beginning of the season because playing from behind Week 1, playing from ahead Week 2, playing from behind Week 3 in Trubisky's bench. So it's finally back to this point now where it took desperation, like in 19, here in 20, to get Nagy back to building this offense for Trubisky. And I think that is an indictment of the head coach. I mean, it shows a stubbornness and a relentlessness to get away from his Andy Reid kind of offense and the offense he wants to run as opposed to the offense that best suits his players. And you see him finally go back to this now at a time when he needed to.
You've 100% nailed it. It reminds me, once Brian Greasy explained what Nick Foles said to him and said that, Matt Nagy's trying to run these, long developing plays and I can't get him off because I'm starting to get flashbacks of Mike Martz and Jay Cutler swearing at him over the mic and it gets caught on TV. It's the same problem. He's trying to run an offense without the pieces in place and won't adjust from it. Another adjustment he didn't make, and you're wearing the Notre Dame shirt, he went to Demetrius Harris for the first 4 games of this, maybe even longer. Now we're seeing the emergence of Cole Kmet. Mitch Trubisky was saying he had a hand in, suggesting that this guy needs to be used more. What are your thoughts here from what we've seen in the last few weeks of Cole Kmet, and where do you think I'm going to be drafting him in my fantasy, draft next year? Is he going to be up there in the top 5? Because I'm seeing big time potential if you get the ball in his hands. I didn't see it early on. Now I'm starting to see it.
Well, for starters, I mean, it shouldn't take Trubisky saying, let's get the number 40 involved with the offense. This kid's been sitting there waiting. He's been looking for that opportunity. Demetrius Harris was an Nagy guy. That was somebody from Kansas City. You heard about the comfort within the offense, et cetera, et cetera. Look, I mean, from everything we've heard, Cole Kmet was ready. I mean, his tight ends coach said that, Nagy said that, Bill Lazor said that. Everybody said he was ready. And they kept coming back to it. We got to get this guy involved. We got to get him involved. It's like, Matt, you're the one who makes this decision. Like, this isn't somebody else saying with you got to go to for approval. Get him in your offense.
Right.
You've seen the comfort. You've seen the confidence. The play on Sunday where he broke those tackles, the angry run from Cole Kmet. And he went to Nagy on the sidelines and said, they're not going to stop me. They can't take me down. That is a confident rookie. That's a guy who wants the football more and more. That's a guy who's got a role that's going to continue to evolve. It's hard to say what he's going to become for 21 or where you're going to be drafting him in your fantasy draft. But look, you can't cap this where the ceiling is for this kid because obviously he's ascending and you're seeing it game in and game out now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes for him. And to move over to the defensive side of the ball quickly, another rookie that has my concern this week is Jaylen Johnson. Are we going to see him on Sunday? I know he hasn't been practicing, so I'm assuming we're not going to, but, my heart will hurt because I've been waiting for a pick 6 from this guy all year. I haven't quite got one, but I really like the prospects of Jaylen Johnson. Is there any chance we see him on Sunday?
Yeah, he's had a great rookie season, and there's a lot to be excited about. It's a curious case because I think it's not a severe injury. They ruled that one out, which is great news because this is the same shoulder that he had surgically repaired this past offseason. But that being said, because it is that, they want to be careful. You can't force it back. You can't put him in a spot where he could risk that with further injury. And the case like an Anthony Miller, for example, where he had that same shoulder injury, had to have it surgically repaired and re-injured it. You got to be careful with this kind of case. So unless it's one of those things where they're being cautious now and they can feel confident about it, or more confident, I should say, Sunday, I don't see him playing on Sunday. And it's probably Kendall Vildor your next up.
Speaking of defensive side of the ball, we've had a lot of noise about Robert Quinn and the season that he's had. And Pace has gotten a lot of guff on that decision to sign him. Now, he did have an injury to start the season. He didn't play week 1. There is some news out there that he has a significant foot injury that he's been playing through, and I think they said it was drop foot or something like that he's been dealing with. Is that valid? Have you heard anything about that? Do you know that is a situation for him?
I don't. Matt Nagy denied it. Robert Quinn's denied it. Ted Monachino, the outside linebackers coach, has denied it. I still feel like this is one of those things where you hear at the end of the season press conference that he's been dealing with something. I mean, this guy's been so highly productive his entire career, and he just has not been the same player. And the other thing, too, that's frustrating, though, is like a play like on Sunday where he gets his arms around Deshaun Watson and can't bring him down. That's an easy sack.
Right.
You got home and the door's locked on you. Like, you can't have that. I mean, there's been so many instances like that. I don't know. I don't know it to be true that he's hurt, but it wouldn't surprise me. That said, he's also not been on the injury report where this is a guy who's now 30 years of age, and they've been really good at holding out players like Akeem Hicks, Jimmy Graham, some of these veterans to kind of maintain the wear and tear of their body. So I feel like if he was dealing with some kind of issues, at the very least, they'd be giving him that Veterans Day off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And after his play against the Texans, I was like, I was reassured that this is probably a bad decision on Ryan's part, but I was also suspecting that an injury, I should say, was going to come up somewhere. So it did come up this week. I was hoping that actually was the case, because hearing everybody deny it does not make me feel very good about that signing. I was hoping that maybe that was an issue.
Yeah, it was interesting because Danny Zetterman had kind of said that some of his sources before the season were, saying that he might not even play for the Bears all year, and then that was quickly dismissed. Do you think there was anything to that they were worried about this foot so much before the season that he might not have been able to play, and he's been toughing through it?
Well, I know there was some thought that he might be a COVID opt-out, but that wasn't the case, obviously, and they signed him in March at kind of the height of this thing. I don't know. He's a fascinating guy. He's extremely optimistic. He's always positive. Matt Nagy talks about it. The same thing he's told us as reporters. Robert, how you doing? He said, well, I got my eyes open, so I'm doing good. I mean, he's a very upbeat dude. But from a football perspective, I mean, it made sense in terms of bolstering your pass rush and giving a compliment to Khalil Mack. But that being said, you're giving a 30-year-old – I feel like I could say it now at the age of 30. You're giving a 30-year-old a 5-year deal, $70 million, $30 million guaranteed. I just didn't see that one aging too well. I saw maybe a couple really good years out of this and him being that great compliment for Mac. But now with the benefit of hindsight, you kind of wish you would have put that money into a tackle or a quarterback like a Teddy Bridgewater or somebody.
Sure. Yeah, that was something that Pace sort of has a tendency to do. When we lost Brandon Marshall, he decided he needed to use the 7th overall pick on Kevin White. We lose Leonard Floyd this offseason, I should say, and he goes out and signs another guy. So sometimes I think maybe he outthinks himself a little bit in some of these decisions.
So, Chris, before we let you jet, what are your thoughts for this game coming up on Sunday? It's a pivotal game for Mitchell Trubisky, for Matt Nagy, for the Chicago Bears. They want any hope of making the playoffs. It's a must-win this Sunday, and it could change the vibes in the city. I think you've got a small percentage of Bears fans ready to jump in for the miracle run, and I think you'd get even more with a win this Sunday and everyone looking at the Jaguars game on the next week's schedule. So what are your thoughts here this Sunday against the Vikings? We've got some people in the chat. Will the Bears quit playing zone on 3rd down? Are they going to make the adjustments? And are they going to beat the Vikings to a pulp? Last time we played the Vikings, they actually got their first Monday. Kirk Cousins gets his first Monday night win. Cousins hadn't beaten the Bears yet. Do you think the tide will turn back the Bears' way this Sunday?
It's a toss-up in my book. It's these teams are so evenly matched, and there's so many things that are similar about them. Obviously, starting with the record, the playoff scenarios and what's at stake for these two. It's also a different vibe when you're going into U.S. Bank Stadium and it's not a raucous crowd. That place is so tough. It's such a great atmosphere. I see the Bears winning. I see them pulling through. I had 24-21. I think it's going to be obviously a very close game. I think it's going to be one of those things where the team that makes the fewest mistakes comes out on top. And I have faith in the way that they're building this offense around Trubisky. And obviously the defense showed a lot more after 2 really rough games. You saw the heart of this group after all, and that they're still coming to play and they're still ready to attack. So that being said, they've had success against Dalvin Cook, and I think that will continue. They've frustrated Kirk Cousins in the past, and I think that will continue. And if the offense does just enough, they can pull through with a win.
That's exciting. That's what I want to hear. I picked them to lose last week and they won. So I'm picking them to lose again. I know a guy in the chat's going to kill me, but I've got it 24-21 the other way, but I agree with you. I think whatever defense can force the 2 picks is going to win. And the Bears, last time Kirk Cousins had his day, so I do think the law of averages worked out in the Bears' way for that. So we'll see how it goes. So final score is 24-21. You got the Bears winning. That being said, do you have the Bears pulling off the miracle and finishing the season in the playoffs, or are we all going to be hanging our heads down at 8-8 again?
I haven't gone to my Steve Kornacki big board. That's in the other room. I don't know if they're able to pull it off. They dug themselves this hole with 6 straight losses, and they have nobody to blame but themselves if they don't get in. It's going to be tough. I think the Cardinals have some more in store. I think even though they've had kind of a rough stretch, that they're a team ascending, and I think the Vikings can still find a way, especially obviously if they win Sunday. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for the Bears.
Well, we'll see. I agree. It is going to be extremely tough, but these are all very winnable games. Sometimes I think that works against the Bears. Just when you think they've got it locked in is right when the carpet gets pulled out from underneath you. But again, Chris, I really wanted to thank you. When you reached out to the podcasters of the world on Bears Twitter and extended your arm to say you could hop on any show, I thought that was really nice of you. And that's a dangerous game. We're a crazy bunch on Bears Twitter, so to dive into the shark water is dangerous stuff. But we admire you for it and appreciative of your knowledge and everything you do on the Bears beat. So we'd love to bring you on again. If Bears make the playoffs, maybe we could get you on and see what your thoughts are there. But until then, man, have a happy holiday and a safe Christmas. And again, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys are a passionate bunch. I love doing it. So have me back anytime. It's been a blast. And happy holidays, guys. Take care.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. That's Chris Emma from 670thescore.com, covering the Chicago Bears beat, doing a great job over there. And like I said, he put out a little tweet on, a few weeks ago saying, hey, anybody that wants me to hop on their podcast, be happy to do it. And I reached out to him in DMs, and he's been so nice going back and forth. So, shout out to Chris Emma for being a man of the people.
Good man.
We're all stuck at home. I can't yell things from the bleachers. This is the access we've got for this year. It seems like there's an end in sight, but for this year, for these guys to go the extra mile for us is much appreciated. And before we move on to our next segment, I did want to talk about, and I was going to ask him his opinion on this, before, because I wanted to work on my segue, abilities, but I did want to play this clip because I did cut it, and I really enjoyed this speech here from Jason Kelce. He was talking about tanking, and I think that's kind of the topic of the last couple weeks with Bears fans. What do we do? Do we root for them to lose? Do we root for them to win? And as fans, we have this perspective about draft picks. We can talk about the nightmare of missing out on Aaron Donald by 1 pick, or all these different scenarios that shake out. Or even the players that are on your team not getting more of an opportunity because you're playing the old veteran who's, not going to be on the team next year. As fans, we have a different mindset and visualization of what our team should do. But this was coming from a player on a team that's been through it. And I really enjoyed his perspective from it. So I want to share it with you. And then I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Jake.
Exciting time whenever somebody's going out there for the first time. That being said, I think at all times in the NFL, the focus should be winning the football game. Nothing else takes precedence. No player evaluation. No amount of curiosity from anybody within the organization. Everything is focused in my opinion, in this league, about winning games. You see a lot of losing teams sustain losses for a number of years. When they have bad cultures. They have cultures where you don't try and win every week, where you're trying to what are we going to do in the draft? What are we going to do in the free agency? What can we do over here? In football, this isn't basketball. One draft pick isn't going to make us a Super Bowl champion. It might be a big start to a Super Bowl championship, but it's always going to be about the team. That's the greatest thing about this sport, and culture, and the way guys fight, and the way guys go to prepare, and the way guys, go about their business is a huge reason for success in this league and in this sport. So nothing takes precedence over trying to win a football game. I don't care who you're trying to evaluate. I don't care if you've lost every game. You're 0-15 and it's the last one you got. Everything is about winning in this league. And I know that I know that won't appease a lot of people out there that always want to talk about getting better draft positions or getting looks at certain guys to see what you got for the future. But again, the moment a team feels like you as an organization aren't doing your job for me to go out there and win, all of a sudden you've shown who you are. You don't care about me or this team. You care about the future. You care about this. That's not what the focus is here. That's not what the focus is on any winning organization's team.
Some strong words there from Jason Kelce, and it's hard to disagree with him when he says it in that way. I think that's what all fans want, to have their team to have that mindset, but it gets to a point where, the easier fix is to just let's just lose out because they're definitely going to clean house. But I understand where Kelce's coming from, and I believe the Bears are stuck in that world right now. And so it's going to be interesting. I hope the egg isn't left on our face here at the end of the year. I want them to keep trying to win, but with the preface that they're going to make the playoffs. If they're not going to, I want my cake and eat it too. Either go 5-11 or make the playoffs on some miracle by the skin of your teeth. I know that'll upset a lot of Bears fans if they did, because that will save Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's job for one more year. I don't think it'll get them extensions. I think that'll save their jobs for one more year, which isn't the worst thing to happen in the world. Continuity is something that, I think is underappreciated, and you just keep, the rotating door doesn't always mean a better person's coming in the other way. It doesn't.
Well, there's a lot of damage that could happen too by giving Ryan Pace another year, because he put a lot into this season, into some bad contracts that are coming back to bite the Bears in the ass. And now if he comes back again, the onus on winning is going to be extreme for this team. Otherwise, he knows he's gone and Nagy knows he's gone. So they might start making some decisions financially that end up hurting the Bears in the long run, because they're trying to save their own asses. So
one of the biggest decisions he has is with A-Rob. What a game he had last week, putting the shakes on, the Houston DB right there. And, what are you going to do with this guy? You going to franchise tag him? You're going to let him walk?
Yeah, I'd franchise tag him. And if someone wants to sign and trade for him, good.
Look at that move, man. Whoo! He left him in the dust on this. This was some Allen Iverson stuff right there. He definitely showed out. And I know Mitch Trubisky is, it surprises me with Mitch and, Mitch and A-Rob, because you saw him on the sidelines, dapping each other up. And I thought A-Rob didn't like Mitch. His tweets, the ones he was liking, clearly indicated that his agent was liking tweets about the quarterback not helping him out. But you were
just the one that gets him the ball. I mean,
you're a former Allen Robinson fantasy football owner. Not to say that you didn't know watching the Bears games, but Mitch gets Allen Robinson the ball, as you said. I
dumped him because of Foles.
I mean, look at this pass here in the red zone. This is 2 years in a row now in these jerseys. Mitch Trubisky has thrown a dime ball in the red zone to Allen Robinson for a touchdown. And why would Allen Robinson not want this guy as his quarterback? He literally just zeroes in on him and gets him the ball at all times. And Allen does such a great job of getting separation off the line of scrimmage. You saw it right there, and then Mitch sticks it behind the linebacker's head. A great throw and a great route and a great catch. And they just have that continuity that you just can't teach. And you're hitting the reset button when you get rid of everybody. But I also understand, a reset button sometimes being what's best. Sometimes you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, as a wise man once said. So,
if you don't have a quarterback, if Mitch isn't if you're not going to give Mitch some sort of deal, if Mitch doesn't want to be here, if he wants to explore other options, you have no quarterback on the roster except for a potential Nick Foles. And that's because of Ryan Pace, because he made a bad decision. And now the Bears are in a position where they have a really high paid defense and no offense. And it's way too – the way this team has been built, while he did build a good defense, the team is built so lopsided, it's hard for it to succeed. And he picked 2 head coaches, one of them who was supposed to be the offensive guru to move this team forward into the 21st century of offenses, and he's not capable of it. He gave the job away. So it has to be a detriment on him, and the buck has to stop somewhere. So it has to be a Ryan Pace. Kudos to you.
It's also not a finished report card because this year has to finish up, and you have to give him credit if the team turns it around and makes a. I know it sounds silly, but they make a run to the playoffs.
I'll give Matt credit.
Win a game in the playoffs. God
I'll
forbid.
give Matt Nagy credit for that, not Ryan Pace.
Well, he should get some too. I mean, depending on who the culprits are. If it's Cole Kmet that has 3 touchdowns in the playoff game and is dominating and looking like George Kittle all of a sudden, well, that's Ryan Pace's pick that Matt Nagy wouldn't use for the first half of the season.
Sure, that's fine. I've been alive for the last 6 years of Ryan Pace, so when I think about Ryan Pace, I don't just think about this season and the things that have happened or what could happen.
Sure,
I think about all the things that has happened, and he's had 6 years to really build something here, plenty of time to move something forward with this team, and it hasn't materialized outside of 2018, which was a great season. But it's just hard for me to give him a pass on a lot of this stuff because
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all there. It's a big decision for this team to make, and the Bears aren't making it any easier on them, to make it. So we'll see what happens here. I shared this picture here for a second. It says, I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "Get in, losers. We're going to the playoffs." And our guys over at the tailgate show, Air Jer and Aaron and all those guys over there, B Diddy, they always got the funny memes. So
this game is so pivotal. This is everything.
DeLorean, the Mazda or whatever. What is it? I always forget. Honda, Mazda. I just love that caption though. Get in, losers. We're going to the playoffs. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our world famous segment. I got a funny clip to introduce.
This game. Whoa! Is that the 2017 draft class? Are you telling me they took Mitchell Trubisky over Mahomes and Watson? This is breaking news! Oh.
What is that?
That was on Twitter. My guy Buff Llama. He's just a funny follow on Twitter. I followed on for years on Twitter before anyone ever even knew I existed on Twitter. And he put that out, and I tweeted at him, "This is your greatest work." So I had to share it today because I thought it was so funny. He had a great voice to it too. And with that being said, there is our in-house Chiefs fanatic, Johnny B, back and better than ever on Brags in the Stands. And I skipped over one very important part of our segment. So before we talk to the very wise and very passionate Johnny B, I have to read our little fan bags ditty. It is the Christmas season, of course, so I cannot forget to give my guy Brian Potter the proper plug here because, like I said, it's Christmas, so you guys need to head on over to Fan Bags and hook your dad or your son or even your daughter up with one of these awesome boards. So that Chris Emma of 670 The Score interview was brought to you by Fan Bags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with Fan Bags Cornhole.
Whoa, man. Nice.
Maybe I could have said that more soothing with the music. I need to relax a little.
No, I thought
I'm all fired up. Do you guys have your fantasy roster set before we go too far? I know we're creeping up on kickoff. I don't know if you guys got any players. I got kicked out of our fantasy playoffs. Johnny, you lost too?
Yeah, I scored a lot of points, but that cheater Eric, he beat me.
The cheater Eric
didn't Mark beat you?
No, Mark.
I scored a lot of points. I lost. Who beat me? Who did I play?
Yeah,
That's
Mark
right, Mark.
Calhoun, our league leader in points and our newest member of the last second league. So, yeah, I didn't realize you were out too, Johnny. I know you had put up a big number, but I stopped looking after I was officially eliminated. So then there was one here on Brags in the Stands. Jake is going for the championship money.
It's not happening. I'm going to get blown out this week.
Don't get in. He does this, Johnny. He does this where he, it's like a reverse jinx. I know exactly what he's doing. He's trying to reverse jinx it. He's trying to reverse jinx it and play the glum ho hum game.
No, I just don't have the personnel right now. Like I made a lot of. If I didn't make any trades and make really dumb drops, I think it would have been a lot better position. But
I tried to trade you Dalvin Cook for nobody after I got screwed by Eric, but they wouldn't allow it.
So you're facing.
You tried to trade me Cook?
Yeah, remember when he was playing two quarterbacks? I said, Jake, I'm going to give you Dalvin Cook for like somebody that was on your bench. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I thought you were kidding. I would have done it.
I was willing to sacrifice myself
just to make a statement.
Not to Texas, baby.
That's right.
So you're playing Mark then?
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be interesting. Mark's had the most points in our league. He's got a good team. He picks and drops up guys very frivolously.
He's got a good squad.
He's got a great squad, even for being a newcomer.
Squad at the right time.
I have to make all the right calls. I'm playing guys off waivers.
Yeah.
I'm playing both Browns running backs this week probably. So I'm in a world of weird.
World of weird for our guy Jake. Well, we're gonna root for you here at Brags in the Stands. No, me and you we are mortal enemies at fantasy football. Jake and I call him the snake because he is a snake, and I like to mess with him all year long. And it's more of a tactic to try to get inside his head because I know he's always scouring the waiver wire, and I'm trying to get his wheels turning. So, but I'll layeth my sword down. I was your king, as the fantasy football champion of the last second league last year, but I am no longer your king. I layeth the sword down and I await, the arrival of our new king. We need to get a trophy. We really do. It has become a fun league and I enjoy it every year, even though it's a pain in our ass because we can never get anything organized. So we shall run it. That's right. That's because I run it. You're 100% right. So, Johnny B, what are your thoughts with tanking? Do you believe, Chubbs is adamant that you never tank? And I know you've been through some different years where I'm sure you've been looking at draft picks ahead instead of hoping for championship, glory. Now I don't think you ever are going to think about a draft pick ever again in your life. Where do you believe a fan should stand when it comes to tanking or rooting for your team to win?
It's not tanking. Tanking is a strategy that an organization decides on. So it's not. I wouldn't declare it tanking. I would say, how do you feel about rooting against your team for the sake of more picks?
Well, first of all, as an athlete and a competitive athlete that's competed at high levels in a couple different sports, I don't lose. If I go out there to play a game, I'm going out to win the game. So kind of what they were saying on that, with Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, is you go to play the game. You're an athlete. You're a competitor. I don't believe in tanking or losing on purpose. And I think guys that grow up being competitive athletes, especially if they get to the professional level, they're going to win the game. I mean, draft picks, whatever. You can hit a draft pick. You cannot hit a draft pick. I mean, we've all seen draft picks hit late or undrafted players even play well. It's just a matter of finding the right draft picks with what you have. So I don't believe in it. Everything that Kelsey said in that video you showed, I'm 100% on board with that. You play to win the game. That's it. You're a competitor. You go to win. I don't care.
There's no player
in the backyard. If I'm playing whip football in the backyard, I'm going to win.
Yeah, there's no way there's any player on the Bears who feels any way about tanking. Everyone's going out there to win a game and kick ass. Like, of course, that's why tanking is. Like Kelsey seemed to allude to an organization making decisions that he might maybe not have agreed with at some course of time in his career that were kind of pushing them in the direction of something like that. And that's where I think that's valid. This is just fan speak. Every guy on that field wants to win and dominate every time they're out there, no doubt. Even the Jets.
What I liked what Kelsey said was that you see these teams that maybe they had a strategy to tank or maybe not give their best effort to get a better draft pick. And they continuously, even though they have those high draft picks, they continuously stay a losing franchise year after year. I think that's the most important part of his speech is that it's that culture. Like, so what? They had a top 5 draft pick 5 years in a row. It don't matter. They still suck.
Jags,
so, like
Detroit.
So what is the purpose of tanking if that player, several years in a row doesn't turn it all around?
Yeah, and that's where I think you have to be competent at really constructing a roster that can compete, and that's where I feel like that's where they screwed up, because you had an opportunity to take one of these good quarterbacks. You missed out on that. You traded up to do that. Then you doubled down on the fact that you thought Mitch was the guy. You trade for a Khalil Mack. You get rid of 2 first-round picks. While Khalil Mack is a great player, that probably hurts the Bears in the long run, unless they win the Super Bowl in 2018. Now you're in that situation where, what do? Do you bring in a new, head of the organization to run things, a new GM? Because things haven't worked out the way that you planned, and now you're kind of in a decision-making mode.
Yeah. It's a conundrum. I definitely don't agree if you're 0-15 and you got that last game. If it comes down to whether or not you have the number 1 pick, I'm sorry, I'm losing that last game. But
that's also relative on a coaching staff or an organization that knows they're going to be there next year. There's no guarantee for anybody in the Bears organization except for George McCaskey and the McCaskey family that they're even going to be here next year. So there's none of that. That's not even in their wheelhouse.
Well, with that being said, I wanted to get your thoughts on it because I do think it's, an interesting point of conversation this week with the Bears, kind of stuck in the middle as we always are in that football hell, as people call it. But I'll take it. It's better than being the Lions. So, no, that was just a little shot at our boy Adam. So, with that being said, let's move on to our world famous segment. Johnny B has fans all across the globe. And he was 3-1 last week, continues his streak of just enfuego-ness, if that's even a word.
Well, let's get it clear just to speak it. I'm average with my show picks with COVID-19, but the game day picks, I am absolutely blazing on fire. I've had a lot of people DMing me lately and contacting me about the game day picks and some of the stuff, and a lot of people have been making some money. So We're trying to get these show picks. It's so early, to make these picks with the COVID-19. We should have went 2-1 last week. We went 1-2 on the show. We got backdoored by a late field goal. But I did make some changes to some of the stuff that I bet as I got closer to the game anyway. But the game day picks is where it's at.
Game day picks is where it's at. And Johnny B is where it's at. So I'm going to let you hold the floor here. And I'm going to stop talking because the people want to make that money from their couch this weekend. It's getting cold out there. So Johnny B is going to warm you up with some cash in your pocket. So take it away, Johnny B, in your world-famous segment, Johnny B for 3.
All right. Well, let's do it. So like I said, we're floating around 500 for the show picks. I do like this week's picks a lot. I really do. But the game day picks is what's been really hot lately. Last week we went 3-1. 3-1 on the game day picks. Ryan Tannehill over 1.5 touchdown passes, easy cash. Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown score. Dalvin Cook, anytime touchdown score. I even had a little bit of advice to some people to put those 2 touchdown scores together on a little parlay. I bet them individually. I put them together. I made a lot of money. So we went 3-1. The only one that we didn't get was Sammy Watkins over 3.5 receptions. And he was just a little short. I think he was 1 reception short. So that kind of sucked because we could have went perfect. But with that being said, let's get into this week's picks. Johnny B for 3. Number 1, I like this pick a lot. The Ravens coming back after, Lamar, had his cramps and then came back. And the Bills, -2.5, teased it down with the Ravens, -6. Both teams are hot, and I can't believe we're getting plus odds here, +110. They're both playing kind of. That's my number 1 pick. I really like this pick. Number 2 pick, I'm going to do a little variation on this one. I'll explain that in a second. The Packers -3. I know Bears fans don't want to hear it, but they're rolling. They're playing a bad team, and we're going to take the Chiefs. We're going to tease them to +4.5. Now, there's a little issue with one of the guys on the Chiefs offensive line that may or may not play. And if you don't want to go with the Chiefs here, you can go the Titans. The only problem is we're not sure that Matt Stafford is going to play yet. So you're going to have to wait to see if he's going to play or not play, and then you can tease that Titans line back. You can probably get it at -4, maybe -4.5, and put it with the Packers. But I like the Packers either with the Chiefs +4.5 or with the Titans -4, and -116. And then just, I'm going to give the Dolphins a little respect. They're going to be down in that hot Miami sun. The Patriots always have trouble with the Dolphins, even when Tom Brady was there. I'm going to take the Dolphins -1. I like the defense. They kicked off Mahomes a couple times on, a couple of incredible interceptions last week, and I'm going to roll with them to come back and bounce back. Dolphins -1 at -130. And that is Johnny B for 3.
Well done, Johnny.
Johnny B, always bringing the heat, and we appreciate that here at Brags and Stands. And I know everyone appreciates your picks, and I know you try to separate the show picks and the game day picks, but hey, all your picks, are worth something because you're making people money. So put them all into one record. I gotta figure it out. What your total record on the season is? What is it?
Well, hold on, I can figure it out. Just tell a joke or something. Let me figure it out real quick.
All right, I'll tell the joke to Jake.
All right, tell her to Jake.
All right. There was a cowboy that rode into town on Friday, stayed 3 days, and then left on Friday. How did he do it, Jake?
Say that again.
A cowboy rode into town on Friday, stayed 3 days, and then left on Friday.
Say it again. Cowboy rode into
Cowboy rides into town on Friday, stays 3 days, and then leaves on Friday. How did he do it?
He rides into town on Friday and stays 3 days and leaves on a Friday. This is a joke? This is a tongue twister.
Let me say it again.
43 and 30. Let's go.
43 and 30. So I'll let Johnny get in on the joke.
All right, what was it?
A cowboy rides into town. Nobody's in the chat's gotten it yet either, so I'm surprised because this is an oldie but a goodie. A cowboy rides into town. A cowboy rides into town on Friday, stays 3 days, and then leaves on Friday. How did he do it? I'll give you 5 seconds.
Rides into town on Friday.
I only know percentages.
Stays 3 days.
Johnny just knows how to make you money.
And leaves on Friday.
This is a joke from Little Big League, a great movie about a young boy becoming the general manager of the Minnesota Twins. And the answer is the horse's name is Friday. That's how he leaves on Friday, stays 3 days, then rides into town on Friday, stays 3 days.
Joke. Let's just clear this up.
I still don't know.
Okay, jeez,
43 and 30.
So
pretty good.
Chris Jackal, enjoyed the joke, and that's what counts. So Johnny B is 43 and 30 on the season. So that means you need to be listening to him. You are not fading Johnny B, as they say in the gambling industry. This guy knows what he's talking about, and he's been working hard, giving you picks all season long here on Brags and the Stands. That's a pretty good record here for your first year in it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, like I said, with this COVID-19, it's a little tricky. What I've actually been on absolute fire with lately, and I've been doing different kind of little research, is I've been on fire the last week with college basketball. So, who knows? Maybe if I get confident in that after the season's over, I can drop some college basketball knowledge. I'm getting better. I'm doing my studying. And
yeah, I need you to, Johnny B, because when we get out of football season, with my Purdue love, I'm going to be dialed into the Big Ten basketball season. I don't just follow Purdue. I watch all of Big Ten basketball. So we can be dialed into that specifically and then branch off into other basketball. So if you want to get into it, I'm fully ready for that. And, we got a few slap comments. Bear Truth 9 wants Jake to slap me for that riddle. Unfortunately, he lived all the way across the country in Austin, Texas, so he can't. But Johnny still lives in the region, and I did agree, as I find Bear Truth 9 comment, I did agree that if I get back on the Bears miracle train, Jake, I don't know if you've caught wind of this yet, but if I go back to rooting for the Bears to make the playoffs, I have agreed to allow Johnny B to smack me live on the air.
You've already done it in your heart of hearts, I imagine.
No, I'm saying we can wait till we get to the pick'ems. I did, divulge to Chris Emma that I believe the Bears are going to lose this week. I hate being that guy, but just my gut. I know the Bears, and it's always expect the unexpected with this team. So, either they're going to blow it this week or they're going to blow it the last week. And so I'm picking this week. I'm not even going to let me get to my hopes up and getting that slap across the face because I believe that we're going to get our cold hit of reality.
Well, look, the Vikings aren't the greatest defense in the league, but they're certainly better than the Lions. They're certainly better. I swear to God, the Texans are the worst defense in the league. I mean, they were atrocious. Not only are they banged up, but they just have not done a good job acquiring talent on that side of a ball outside of J.J. Watt. So,
well, if they beat the Vikings, I will then, it's obvious then, because they're playing the Jags the next week. I'm going to be all in. And then I guess we're going to have to allow Johnny to smack me at some point. I don't know how we're going to
hear a rumor. I don't know if it was on Twitter that you said that my slap doesn't have any power behind it. And that could be not.
That's a big mistake.
I am known for the spicy talk.
In these fists, brother.
Sometimes I get the spicy talk on the Twitter streets. I can't help it. It's Chubbs. He gets me all dialed up. Chubbs gets in on the tough talk, and then I gotta get my bravado out, and then I start talking tough and calling you soft. So it's a bravado thing. It's a lot of tough talking going on Twitter.
You want to get in on these picks?
We'll get in on these picks because the game is fast approaching. And everybody needs to know how great Johnny B is at picking these games. Is he still the king of the mountain? Let's take a look.
So, Johnny, I'm still making a little bit of headway on Johnny. A little bit. So last week I went 12-4. Greg also went 12-4, and Johnny went 11-5. So there was some really good calls I had last week, but I also picked some long shots, and it bit me in the ass. So here I am. I'm 4 games back on Johnny, and Greg, you are 9 games back on the lead. So time to start taking some wild shots here.
I look so stupid down there. My goal should just be to jump you, Jake. I just don't. Okay. I'm feeling defeated.
Well, you gotta make up some serious ground here. So this week, not a lot of ground for making up ground because we got a lot of common picks here. So tonight we're all taking the Raiders against the Chargers. Chargers are a little banged up, although the Raiders are missing 4 defensive starters tonight, if I do believe so. But we're all taking the Raiders at home tonight against the Chargers. Bills at Denver. Bills across the board. The Bills are hot, playing great football. We're taking the Bills. Green Bay.
Hot.
Panthers at Green Bay. Packers are probably going to dominate this game. They're playing probably one of the best teams in the league right now. Probably.
Well, and if you're Chubbs, you're rooting for it. If you're Chubbs, you're rooting for it because if the Packers can find a way to clinch the division before the final week, which can happen because the Saints could lose to the Chiefs this week. So we might.
Yeah. The Packers are going to keep rolling. They got a little bit of favorable schedule. The Panthers are not going to be able to keep up with that offense. If they're doing what they've been doing week in and week out, that should be a good win for the Packers. Texans at Colts. Again, Colts across the board. The Texans are woeful, and the Colts should stomp them, no problem. Detroit at Titans. Titans across the board. Detroit could be without Matt Stafford. Their center, Ragnow, had a what did he say? A
broken throat?
Broken throat?
Fractured throat?
Fractured throat? I didn't even know that was possible.
I've seen a Steven Seagal flick where he does a karate chop right to the throat. I'd imagine that's probably how it happens. And I would never want to be I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of one of those.
That would be a good way to fracture a throat. But that is insane. And he played the rest of the game. Kudos to that man. You're a tough SOB. But we're still taking the Titans across the board at home. Bears at Minnesota. Here's where it gets interesting. I took the Vikings in this one. Johnny's taking the Bears. Greg is also taking the Vikings.
You lied to me, Jake.
I know. I thought about it, and Jaylen Johnson not playing is a big one for me. I'm a little concerned about. It is at home, whether that is an advantage or not. The Vikings have a very potent weapons on offense. Have an extremely good running back. The Bears are going to have their hands full. The Bears defense gave up points, big points against the Lions offense. They didn't even have DeAndre Swift in, didn't even have Kenny Galladay in. This is a big time, big star-studded offense here. I think it gives them troubles, and Bears are going to have to match them, in the shootout. So I'm taking the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I can't get over the thought of the letdown. It just to me reeks of what this Bears team has been since the playoffs of 2018.
It's not so much a letdown for me. I'm just comparing these teams right now across the board, and it just it's a mismatch.
These teams have played so much and the familiarity. I just think you throw all that stuff out the window. It's like the one thing the Bears have over the Vikings is the Vikings won the last one. That's how I always look at it. I know it sounds trivial, but that is how I look at it. They are so familiar with each other. Now this time it's Mitch. Last time it was Foles. So there's a little difference there, but I just can't get my head around the fact
Mitch never always seems to get hurt against the Vikings. But I'm not thinking about that. But I don't know.
You always got to consider when you have Harrison Smith running around, and he runs around like a missile, from the University of Notre Dame. So, it'll be interesting to see if, it's certainly a hurdle for Mitch to overcome. He's never played well against the Vikings. And like I said, it's all the pressure is on this game because we all know who they play next week. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are trying to lose. They are literally tanking. So if you lose to them, then you should really be embarrassed. So
Chubbs brings us up, but keep in mind, Chubbs, the Bears have been playing atrocious defenses the past 2 weeks.
And the Bucks played the Vikings last week, correct, Jake? And the Vikings pass secondary isn't what it used to be. You can pass on this defense, but can Mitch is the question. He's never shown that he's been able to.
Here's the
final game of last season, I guess he made a game-winning throw, at their house to win the game to make them go to 8-8. So,
the thing that hasn't been there for Mitch, Mitch has been playing really well these past few weeks. The one thing that he hasn't even really attempted to do these past 2 weeks is have any sort of deep ball going on, because that is where he's been really bad this year. He did unleash it against the Packers a little bit to his detriment. I think there was 2 picks on deep balls that he threw. So we'll see. I mean, luckily the run game has been there for them, and intermediate routes have been open, and they've been wheeling and dealing. So this is a big test, and this game means everything to the Vikings, and it means everything to the Bears. So this is huge, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's no question about it. I'm rooting for them to win, but I'm picking them to lose. Last week, I picked them to lose, and I was wrong, and I hope I'm wrong again this week.
I picked them to win so many times that they didn't. So what's the difference? The Bears are going to do what they do.
Yeah, no, you got to make the picks. And I had said earlier in the season that this was the most unpredictable Bears team I had come across, and they were. And it felt like I was going to pick them right at 500, for my picks in the midway minute with Kevin Kadick, and I don't really care how I pick them. I could go 0-16 for all I care. But, when you're picking against these people, you want to try to hold yourself to some standard and pick with your head and not constantly just pick. I could have just picked the Bears 16 straight weeks, but that's silly. We got to play the game and try to believe, pick what you actually, can foresee happening. And I put that in quotes. So, for me,
if the Vikings do end up winning, it puts me one up on Johnny. So
for the midway minute picks, Kevin Kadick and there was somebody else. They've been at the leaderboard for the whole year, and I've been one game behind them forever. And now I've fallen to 7-6 on my picks, and most everyone else has picked behind me as far as their win-loss record. So I felt pretty good about it, but I'm on a 2-game losing streak as far as picking the Bears. Last 2 weeks I've gotten it wrong. So, hey, if I get it wrong 3 weeks in a row, let's go. That's what I'm rooting for. So
if the Bears win, I'm all on board. If the Bears don't win, You know, the
It's
playoffs are done.
Just
and-
goes, how many times has Johnny B picked against the Chiefs? That is
That's
a
the
lot
Chiefs.
different.
Let me tell you
Chiefs.
something. He has a point because you know what? I'm never going to pick against my team. I don't care if it's before Andy Reid got there. Will I bet on my team if they're not that great? No, I'm not going to put the money on it, but I'm never picking against my team.
Well,
you guys are insane.
Well, fine, but
I don't
you
even know how
were
you do it.
making those picks publicly. If you were making picks publicly at the time that you didn't have Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or all that stuff, it might have been a little bit different. You know, you might have been less likely.
1 year anniversary of when we sucked. Of like, I forget how long ago, how many years ago, but it was the day I think today when the Packers were undefeated this week, and they came into Kansas City and we were terrible. And we beat the Packers. They were undefeated. I don't remember what year that was. It was like 2012 to, 13. And we were dreadful. And the Packers came in the Arrowhead undefeated. And I think we won like 13-10 or something. I'm never going to pick
anything wrong with
if you're a Bears fan, this year, you would have picked on this show, you would have picked the Bears to win every single game this year.
Yes.
Okay.
You're crazy.
I'm
I'm proud of the fact that I have a winning record.
500.
I have a winning record picking the Bears this year, and that is not easy because I have said, and this isn't just saying it now because my record's starting to even out to 500. I'm at 7-6 on the year, but I said early in the year, this is one of the most unpredictable Bears teams of my lifetime, and they started to become very predictable in a very bad way when Nick Foles was the quarterback. And now that Mitchell Trubisky's back on the team, they are back to being very unpredictable. I thought they'd beat the Lions, and the way they lost was such a letdown.
But that was a coaching mistake. I mean,
I know, but I just
he was trash when he fumbled. That's the wrong play.
So they beat the pants off the Texans and
ran the ball.
It felt good, but honestly, it was more frustrating than good for them to beat the Texans in the way they did because I'm sitting there as a fan going, if you had just not blown the Lions game, I could feel great about this, but I can't.
Let me ask you this. Everybody talks about Bears defense, right? And that's fine. And the defense is like, they'll tell you about it. So, all right. So against that Lions game, do you really want to drop Mitch back that far in that situation at the end of the game? No. You either run the ball or you do a quick screen pass or something, and you get the ball out of his hands quick so it's not a turnover.
Yeah, but the defense gave up 40-plus points that week.
And if you don't get the first down, you punt the ball, and then you're like, all right, defense, let's go. It's time to seal the deal. This is what
they stepped up this week against the Texans. They were not ready for the challenge.
If you had the Detroit game, where you'd be right now.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, like I said, that small
the defense was terrible against Detroit.
You'd have more than 50% of the Bears fans calling for playoffs. I mean, they'd hold the final spot right now. I mean,
it would be huge. It would be huge. It'd be another division win. It'd be another conference win.
And that opportunity sits in front of them this Sunday. If they beat the Vikings and the Cardinals are upset by the Eagles, I believe they play the Eagles. If we go back to the Pick'ems board, then all of a sudden now the Bears do sit in that spot. So it's really interesting, and only the Bears can have this much of a roller coaster ride.
Hey, at least we get one more week of pure drama and excitement. So I'll take it any day of the week.
When the Bears win 27-24, it's going to add another week of drama to Greg Bragg Jr. and Jake.
Well, if they win, then I'm all in on the playoff dream again, and then that means I'm gonna let Johnny smack me. But that might make the forces of nature, lead the Bears to beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm just throwing that out there as a caveat. So let's go back to the
if they do win, then you need to get the slap on tape and play it next week on the show. So
100%. We'll either do it, we'll either video it, or we'll try to do it live in some fashion. 100%. I agree. We'll give the people what they want. I'm a man of my word. If I go back on the playoff miracle train, I'll allow Johnny B to smack me.
Fair enough.
With his soft pillow hands.
Moving on. Seahawks at Washington. We're taking Seahawks across the board here. I know Alex Smith is up in the air a little bit. He hurt his little leg again, so we'll see what happens there. Patriots at Dolphins. We are all taking Dolphins across the board. Like Johnny B said, the Patriots have problems when they go down to Miami, and now with the way Cam Newton's playing, they should have even more. So taking Dolphins across the board. Jags at Baltimore. Ravens across the board. Seems like a no-brainer. Buccaneers at Falcons. Almost took Falcons in this one. Couldn't do it.
Me too.
Almost took Falcons, but I'm going Bucks across the board. Cowboys at Niners. I'm taking the Cowboys in this one. Why not?
I almost took the Cowboys too, but then I heard George Kittle might come back, and I changed my mind.
Well, I think he's going to be off IR, but I don't know that he's going to actually play. But I could be wrong about that.
I don't know either. I just heard maybe he could play.
So I'm taking the Cowboys in this one. It's in Dallas. The Cowboys have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense has started to play better. The Niners have a lot of problems with the quarterback situation. They're not playing the best football. The Cowboys are still fighting in the NFC East. I'm taking the Cowboys. Greg and Johnny are taking the Niners. Jets at Rams. Rams across the board. Chiefs at Saints. Chiefs across the board. Browns at Giants. Browns across the board. Steelers at Bengals. Steelers across the board.
How do you like my Eagles upset pick on the Cardinals? Interesting.
Did I not call that one out?
No, you missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eagles at Cardinals. Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals this one. Johnny's taking Cardinals. Greg is taking the Eagles. I do like that upside, Greg. I'm kind of in the same wheelhouse as you.
And if that happens, like I said, and the Bears win.
I thought about that one too. I just think that, as good as they played against the
Cardinals don't run away from anybody anymore. Now that
have a feeling the Cardinals are going to show out this week. I don't know why. I just
they played much better against New York. The Cardinals did last week than I thought they would. So credit to Arizona for traveling all the way across the country and beating a tough Giants defense on the road. In the Meadowlands, all that. Time difference and all that nonsense. But now the Eagles, I just think they're so unpredictable, and they have this.
The defense is good. The Eagles' defense is good. So. And their D line is really good. So I almost took the Eagles.
Chubbs' upset pick. So typically, what was Chubbs' upset pick last week?
Well, he was wrong about the Chiefs losing last week.
It was the Dolphins.
I smartly pulled that pick before the game started and notified the boys because I was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen.
Imagine if the Chiefs didn't get bored, it would have been 45-10 after we were down 10-0. We seem to get bored and disinterested when we make those comebacks and we're up like 20, and then we're like, whatever. We just got to beat everybody by like 30. But Chubbs asked me if I was nervous, during the game or at the end of the game, and you can ask anybody that knows me. Down by 10 with Mahomes in the first quarter.
I had people DMing me, Johnny, during the game last week. I had somebody DMing me, and he goes, he said, Braggs, where is that KC fan at? Said the Dolphins wouldn't have a chance. And like 2 minutes later, the Chiefs scored like 2 touchdowns. Yeah. He goes, fuck, as soon as I say that, Chiefs Kansas City scores a touchdown. It was so funny. I got people DMing me about you, Johnny, with this. It's so funny.
And the Dolphins is good.
You turned the ball over 4 times, and you still scored 33 points. And realistically, it wasn't even close. They got a garbage field goal at the end with no time left and cut it to 6. But it was, it could have been just a beat down. But you turn the ball over 4 times, you're not supposed to win in the NFL. But with Mahomes,
that's another reason why you never pick against the Chiefs and why you feel comfortable doing it, because the Bears could never survive such a thing.
Right.
I would never pick against my team.
Credit to Chubb. He was close on it, and then he's got the Eagles this week, so he's always right on the beaten path for it. I got a few things to share before we jet on out of here on Top Shots. I won't take too long on them.
Yeah, we got the football game started now. I'm in the playoffs.
You can go to watching the game. Johnny and I will talk about Top Shots. What did you guys think of this? I caught this on Twitter sphere. Nickelodeon is going.
This is awesome.
This is so cool.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch this game on Nickelodeon for sure.
I was surprised.
What if the Bears are this?
I was surprised they didn't do something like this earlier, just to get obviously younger generation in the sports. You got so many kids now that that do play the video games, and some of them do play sports video games like Madden and NBA 2K and all that. But
I'm just curious how much of this graphic integration they'll be able to do live, or will those be on the replays? It's just they definitely have my interest. That's really cool.
The delay on Nickelodeon will probably be decently substantial, so they have time to quickly edit those things, I would imagine. But who knows? But I think it's really cool. Without even having kids, I would be excited to watch it because I'm stupid, but I like
No, it looks great. And absolutely really cool for kids, obviously, and to get them interested in the game, but has my interest as well. Another thing that I caught on Twitter, now that we're rolling through our top shots segment of the best shots I've seen on Twitter, these two jawing at each other before the play, and this DB just undressing the wide receiver, kind of telling him, oh, this guy can't handle me. He ain't doing nothing on me. And then, the beauty, and then this guy cracked me up too. He's like on an acid trip. He's like, oh, here we go. And then all of a sudden,
look at him. He's got he's watching that ball. So keeping locked down on his target. Goes right by us.
Boop. And then the shit talking commences on the backside, and he ain't got much to say there.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a poetic moment for football. You love to see it.
If you talk shit like that and someone puts it right in your face, you shake that man's hand because you earned you earned to get posterized like that.
100%.
I'm a big believer in football. The whole game is about basically just forcing your will upon somebody. I'm all about, like being able to spike the ball in a dude's face when you burn them. I don't think there should be unsportsmanlike conduct for that. I mean, you're trying to literally tackle each other.
Sure.
Rip the ball from each other. And I don't understand why you can't spike a ball in a guy's face.
Baseball has figured this.
Catch, drop the ball right at his feet. That's just part of the intensity. I think they should get away with flags for things like that.
100%. You're onto something here. Baseball is embrace this where they allow the bat flips and the jawing at each other, and it's like NFL's the no fun league, so if you worry about a player taunting too much, I know you probably have to deal with that a lot with your team celebrating so much, Johnny B. So I'm doing a lot of celebrating here early on. So far, our Boilermaker over here, Sasha Stefanovic, who was a guest on our show here last month in November, is league leader in the Big Ten in 3-point percentage. That's right, leading the league, knocking down big time shots. You saw on that play, Travion Williams setting a huge pick as they beat Indiana State, and then last night, Purdue moved to 5-2 on the year, and here was Sasha getting things kicked off with a hand in his face. That's a foul. Thank you, sir. And Sasha doing his thing for the Purdue Boilermakers. I wanted to give him a shout out here on Top Shots, leading the league in Big Ten 3-point percentage. You go and Google it. His name is at the top of the list. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So shout out to Sasha. Keep it up. They got a big game Saturday against Notre Dame at 1:30. There's a full slate of college basketball games Saturday. You got NFL football on Saturday. There's a lot of action going on. Notre Dame, Clemson.
NFL this Saturday or next Saturday? NFL is this Saturday or next Saturday?
There's NFL games this Saturday.
You got the Bills game and the Packers game.
You've got two NFL games. You've got a full slate of great college basketball games on Saturday. And then you also have Notre Dame, Clemson, the ACC championship.
I believe we get a Christmas Day football game this year too, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't remember ever happening. Do you? And usually it's NBA basketball.
Sometimes it falls on Christmas.
Oh, just in case it lines
every
up
few
that way.
years it falls on Sunday.
But for Friday, I don't remember Friday football like that.
No, and Christmas is obviously known for NBA basketball, and that was my next thing I was going to talk about. How about this, Johnny B? Have you been able to catch any of the early preseason games? They've had 3 in the books, and last night they beat the brakes off OKC, and they looked great doing it. Man, they've got some really interesting young pieces. It'll be cool to see kind of how this new front office and Billy Donovan, their new head coach, kind of sifts through who's going to stay and who's going to go. But have you been able to watch, and are you excited about the future at all?
I'm very excited about what they've done, obviously with the coach and, a little bit with the front office. I do not watch preseason games generally, especially just because I like my games to be for real. I'm not even that big into NFL preseason games, to be honest. If there's some guy I want to look at, I may watch a little bit of it, but once the season starts, I'll start getting into it. But I'm definitely excited for especially the coach that they brought in. I just like everything.
Billy Donovan's the real deal. coming from
That's
Florida.
that's something you'd like to see the Bears do. Get this shit right. Make these right decisions.
Front office.
Get in front office, GM, coach. Like,
well, I mean,
come on.
And they would do that, I think. And that's what I was asking Chris Emma. If they don't make the playoffs, I think they will do that. But we don't know that answer, and I think that's the most maddening thing for Bears fans. Because, Jake, if you had to pick, and Chubbs is going to kill you when you answer this, but if you had to pick playoffs or lose out, which one would you take?
Lose out.
See, I'm still taking the playoffs.
I'm not taking the playoff. Well, let's rephrase that question. Does lose out mean that there's regime change? Because then, yes, I would take that. If it doesn't mean that, then no, absolutely not.
Oh, I see. And we also don't know that. So that's an
only regime change would I root for them to lose out. But that has no bearing on anything. It's just I hope that happens because I know the Bears, and we all know the Bears are in need of some changes here structurally, and we want to see that happen. That's it. That's the only reason. So it doesn't matter. I'm just a guy.
Maybe the Bulls will start really hot, and then they'll be like, holy cow, the Bears will be like, look what they did. They brought this guy in. Everybody loves him. It's fresh blood, and maybe the Bears will do the same thing.
I'll tell you what, Chubb's getting spicy talk with the Purdue suck in here. He's an Illinois fan. Illinois. He's a big Illinois fan. They're 5-2 too. Thank you very much. And both teams Purdue lost to is good. Clemson and Miami. So kick rocks. They got Notre Dame on Saturday. They're the youngest team in the Big Ten. They have no seniors. They got all these freshmen. They don't suck. So I ain't listening to any of that.
Well, let's also put something out into the stratosphere of what we're talking about here. If I had full confidence, if George McCaskey was the right guy for to be in his position, he should have the foresight to understand that even if the Bears won out, even if the Bears made the playoffs, they're still not on the right track,
right?
And there's still things that need to be addressed. And one of those things, and the org needs to get restructured based on what's happened the past 15 years, let alone what's happened this year or the year before. So good ownership would have the foresight in these things. And if that were the case, if I had confidence in that, I would never be asking for the Bears not to win games. But I don't have confidence in that.
What if the Bears squeak in? And every week, they're getting a little better with the play calling. Because personally, I watched the Bears game a lot because I had the TV set up 1, 2, 3. And the play calling was dramatically different for that Texans game. Dramatically different in my eyes. Just the way the reads seemed to be one quick read, 2 reads quick.
Yeah.
What if they got better and better and then maybe even squeaked into the playoffs and won a playoff game?
If they squeak in the playoffs, I'll be rooting like hell for them.
Would that change your mind for the regime if they got progressively better and then even won a playoff game?
Absolutely not, because it would be kind of the thing like the Bulls have done. The Bulls have a really exciting young core, but they're still bringing in, people that it's like when what was the Cubs coach? I can't think of his name. That won the championship. Joe Madden. When they brought in Joe Madden. They knew they had a core there, and they needed the right people to get them there. I feel like it's similar with the Bears. They don't necessarily have the quarterback, but they have the right group. I mean, they have a very competitive team that has completely underperformed the past 2 seasons. So that's the point of a lot of this. It's not just, I want them to lose, blah, blah, blah. It's because I want to know that the owner, which I don't have faith in, has the foresight to know when a change needs to get made. And I don't think he has that, because look at what the McCaskies have been a part of, a lot of dysfunction in the past 20 some years. So that's why I feel that way. They haven't earned that confidence.
Look at the White Sox though. They fired Ricky Renteria. Johnny's a White Sox fan. They made the playoffs here in this crazy COVID year. And then they made the playoffs, and then they fired Ricky Renteria, who got them there. So they were able to do that even though they had a positive season. That being said, before we move, I will say,
I'm sorry. Let me get in one more word. If they did a regime change, for instance, I would be very interested for them to pick Mitchell up again on a 1-year deal with a new coach and see what they can get out of him, because I do think you can get a lot out of Mitch. There are things that he's obviously needs to improve on, but I would be more excited to see Mitch get another opportunity in a Bears uniform with a new regime.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all that unfolds because, there's just a lot hanging in the balance these last 3 games. And I know George McCaskey's going to be waiting with bated breath.
I hope they better bring Georgia to Minnesota. And I want to see her sitting in the press box by herself.
Virginia and George, yep.
Virginia and George locked in because this is a big one. This is a big one.
Get Virginia watching and waiting, and then get Ted there standing off to a distance.
Yeah, Ted can get them drinks or something.
Why is he holding the helmet like that? I never.
Because I don't know.
Nagy's planning right now. Live look into Matt Nagy's room as he plans.
They should put an X
where
over
he
every
his ice cream.
play that didn't work and those plays. They should put a red X over it. That would be better.
Right.
I'm rooting for anybody that thinks just because I picked against the Bears to lose, I'm rooting for Mitch. This is our guy here at Braggs in the Stands. I just don't want to get my hopes up. I know how this goes. This team is flawed.
Hey, you know what?
They won a great game against the Texans. It was great, but it was more frustrating for me than great because they could have won the week before. Like they should have, like literally should have. It's the Chargers game all over again, and they blow it, and it just rips me up. It honestly rips me up. And then, because now we're hanging on by a thread, so to go the full Chubbs, as they would say, and start dreaming of playoff grandeur. I'm not there yet.
Win this game. Hey, it doesn't matter.
I hope I'm wrong.
You got one game. You got 1 week. Go 0-1 this week. You can start thinking about whatever you want, but you have to win this week. That's it.
And I'll definitely be all in at that point. So, we got before we let you go, before we kick on out of here, I know Jake's gearing to go to watch the game.
I'm watching the stat line come across.
All right. Well, you need to get a little iPad to have the game going there. But our guys, Al Fleischman and Danny Rocket, supplied some more Christmas spirit, and I have to share it along here at Top Shots. So this was Al Fleischman's, entry into Waddle and Sylvie, and it's Bears related, so I'll let it kick off.
Watching the Bears after Sunday Mass, there goes another real bad pass over the tight end with too much steam, right in the hands of the other team. Oh, Mitch couldn't throw. Oh, Nick didn't show. We need a quarterback quick, or down goes the season with Mitch and Nick.
Offensively, we know that we got to be a lot better.
Started the season at 5-1, thanks to the defense stopping the run. Nagy and Laser have called the plays, but not doing much to move the chains. Oh, Mitch didn't grow. Oh, Nick was too slow. We need a quarterback quick, or down goes the season with Mitch and Nick.
The situation sucks. It sucks to get news like that, but
all eyes are now on Ryan Pace. He just might be packing his suitcase. We're all dreaming of a playoff team, and we're getting real tired of the same old scheme. Oh, who's gonna go? We'll hear it on the Waddle and Sylvie show. We need a quarterback quick, to get us through this pandemic.
That's pretty good.
Think about that. The Waddle and Sylvie show, all their entry, I think 2018 probably had some positive songs, but outside of that, we've had negative holiday songs for as long as I can possibly remember. So
I'll have to pull it out next time. But our favorite one, Jake, was the Kellen Davis.
I fall down.
I fall down. Yeah, Kellen. That's the best one. And then, of course, Cuddy Come Back, which wasn't a Christmas parody, but more of a cry for help when Jake Cutler got hurt.
What were they at that time that he got hurt? 11 or what was it? What was their record?
3, and then they got
11-3.
No, they were 8-3, and he got hurt.
8-3, yeah,
and he hurt his thumb, and everything fell apart. I believe Tebow. That was the year
he got surgery with a frozen football in his hand, and all of that. I knew all those details.
So we were talking about the White Sox firing Ricky Renteria for a certain new manager, and he's had a few run-ins with the law. Nothing wrong with that. He's paid his dues to society, I guess. Although I think he skirted the last charge. But Tony La Russa, our guy Al Fleischman, he also had. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Fleischman. There's an I there, so I want to respect the EI in his last name. But Al Fleischman, from the Waddle and Sylvie entries that we've been playing for you, he had a funny Tony La Russa song that couldn't be played on the air on ESPN 1000 because they are now the home station for the Chicago White Sox. But I thought I'd share it here on Brags in the Stands because we aren't the home station to anybody but but our own goofy three selves here. So here, Johnny B is your new manager.
Tony's dreaming of a white Russian, vodka, milk, and Kahlua on the rocks. Got together with Jerry for a Bloody Mary, and now he's managing the Sox. Tony's asking for more white Russians, then chase it down with good red wine. May his drinks with Jerry be fine, and may Tony then call for an Uber ride.
Cheers!
Nice.
Hey, the guy
Really well done by Al. What's that, Johnny?
The guy likes to have a couple drinks. What are you gonna do?
Well, just take it. You don't have to drive home after that. Take a cab.
Yeah, he did get caught.
Driver,
he got caught one time asleep.
Limos are kind of outdated, and I think they are too. But I mean, Tony La Russa would be perfect for a limo. I think it suits him perfect.
Get a car. Get a town car. He's a Hall of Fame baseball person.
It's
get a
2020.
car.
Get an Uber. I mean, geez, like it says in the song, he's got to be able to be an Uber Gold member at this point.
He's a Hall of Fame baseball person. He can't ride in some stranger's car.
I'm sure they're going to have a driver for him at any moment when he needs it once he starts up the gig.
So we got a couple more, and then we're going to jet. This is our guy, Danny Rocket, bringing some Christmas spirit, and we got to bring him on here soon because he's provided so much great Christmas cheer, and so has Al here these last couple of weeks to end our shows, and Danny does such a great job, and he's doing a great Cubs Miss Caroling thing on his show, the Sun Ranto Show, so look out for that on Twitter and Facebook here coming up in the next few days. But this is Danny Rocket's couple of Cubs Christmas spirited songs.
The Cubs need good players. Our offense is broken. I thought we would win the World Series again. Since 2016, nothing but frustration. Oh, Cubs, why don't you score runs? Oh, Cubs, why don't you score runs? Oh, Cubs, why don't you score runs? Blow up the court.
That man is dedicated to the Cubbies.
He is the man. Yeah, he's
feeling the pain of the transition lately. I've seen a lot of his songs on his Twitter page. He's definitely feeling the transition pains.
Yes, he's going through it right now, and this is how he gets through it, is with his music. And the final song for the night is my favorite one, really good, and it was his final entry to the Waddle and Sylvie contest for the Christmas parody song that ended just yesterday. There was a lot of stuff going on the Waddle Sylvie show that we'll share on another show later on. But this was his final entry for the Waddle and Sylvie show, and it was a Christmas parody of Cubs Corona, and it was really, really well done. So I'm going to share it with you, and then we're going to jet.
One goes out to the Chicago Cubs, the only Major League Baseball team to not get a coronavirus infection this season. Congratulations. The Chicago Cubs didn't get corona, followed protocols. Between every at-bats, they'd always put on a mask. They washed their gloves and sanitized the balls. The Chicago Cubs didn't get corona, no positive tests. Like St. Louis and the Cards, Yadi Molina got SARS in his sticky chest. Brewers and Reds letting Corona spread, and the Pirates canceled some games. So glad the Cubs weren't like the other clubs, they kept the virus contained. Tommy Hadavi had it, so the players were afraid. The Chicago Cubs didn't get Corona, 0 infections. Remember 2020 as the year they stayed healthy, hoping 21 they will score more runs. Merry Christmas. Stay safe, everybody. Be like the Cubs and don't get coronavirus. Merry Christmas.
Oh,
good work,
Danny Rocket. Had to finish it up with that because, of course, the vaccine has come into our lives here. You know, as I saw a picture of it on the Chicago's one of the Twitter accounts somewhere on Twitter. I saw that the first vaccine to Chicago was reported, and it just, for me, you can feel one way or another about however this whole thing has gone down, but I'm ready for it to be over with. And there's the shot of it being sent. And my wife's a nurse. She's had to battle through this for the last year, dealing with it on an everyday basis. It is very real. And I'm excited to, have this administered out so we can get back to our normal lives. Hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. My wife's actually scheduled to take the shot here at the beginning of January. So it'll be interesting, but I do see Wrigley Field bleachers in our future, in the summer. I don't think we're going to be able to get into any basketball stadiums this winter. So it'll be, looking forward to baseball season and getting in the bleachers and sharing a beer with or whiskey and Coke with your friend out in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. I cannot wait. Yes, Chubbs, I was surprised. He put something in the chat that he's surprised he's become the optimist and I'm the pessimist, because everyone always knows me as the forever optimist. I do, hold that, to my near and dear to my heart. I want the Bears to, overcome all the obstacles and win the miracle and thumb it to everyone that ever doubted them. But at this point, they're hanging on by a thread. And I always look at a team like you got 6 bullets in your shot, or in your gun. You only can use so many of those bullets, and I feel like the Bears have already used up their bullets. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they still got a couple left in the chamber.
Right?
What's that?
What if they got a 9mm? What if they got more than 6 shots?
See,
let's go.
So
27-24 Bears. Let's go. Bear down. 27-24.
I like that. I'm going to let you finish with that thought because Jake and I are the gloomy doomers of the week, and we've got them losing. So we might as well let you finish it off as you always do for your Johnny B for 3 segment in your Johnny B for 3 way, and then we'll call it a night. What do you say?
All right, let's do it. Johnny B for 3 here. Don't forget that money won is far sweeter than money earned. I'm really liking the picks this week. Don't forget Sunday morning I'll release my game day picks. Maybe I'll even do one Saturday morning since there's rumors that there's Saturday games this week. So check that out, and let's stay hot, baby. Woo!
Love it,
What
Johnny.
about money spent is money earned?
Money
won.
Is far sweeter than money earned.
I know. I've been all over the place today.
You've only been doing this for 16 weeks.
And well, did you see I set Twitter aflame?
It's right here. The same thing.
Well, did you see I set Twitter aflame with my take of not wanting Christmas presents under the tree. Everyone's freaking out at me about this, but I hold to it. I think Chubbs was going at me, but to me, if you just hold the tradition with your kid that no presents,
we're going to agree on this one.
We don't agree on much, and when we do, we mark it down. And Jake and I don't agree on much, and when we do, we mark it down. And I definitely am different in this. I shovel my own lawn, so I know I'm different in general. But I think it is better to have no presents under the tree, and then on Christmas morning, you wake up and all the presents are under there, including the ones from Santa. My mom used to do from the Santa, from the elves, from the reindeer. Every single reindeer they get with one reindeer got
never got reindeer presents.
Yeah. Well, I got presents from them all, and then one would get me the little stuff, and then the big presents were from like Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus, and that's how my mom did it.
Explains so much about you as an adult man.
And then
you had all the special treatment.
Are you an only child?
Like you didn't get presents on Christmas. What? They were all from Santa?
I didn't get anything addressed from all the elves and all the reindeers and all the reindeer. Man.
What? Yeah. What they just said Santa? Each one just said Santa, or they said
"Here's your gift. Go to hell." They said, "Take it or
stupid.
Take it or don't."
Imagination in that. There's no imagination.
I'm just kidding. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I got gifts from all the reindeer.
You're spoiled.
No, it was not. It's not spoiled.
Greg is spoiled. Greg is spoiled. He's got one from Rudolph and Blitzen and all these other reindeer.
Off track with the labeling.
I don't even know their names. Mrs. Claus. Now she's giving gifts. What is going on here, Greg?
Yeah.
You are spoiled.
I did this. She was a good lady who had an imagination, unlike your parents who just schlepped all the presents out under the tree and let you guys have at them. We had organization to our stuff, and we came out and all the presents, and then even the ones that were from our aunts and uncles were there, and they were all labeled. So if something was from somebody that wasn't, a mystical figure, I knew that. It was
but you opened up questions here now, because now if I'm a child and all these gifts just appeared, then I'm going to say, did you run into Santa Claus? Was he here? Did you see him? Why were you guys putting out gifts at the same time? Like, I'm a very curious child. I would ask these things. I would wonder what had happened. And you would need answers. You would need answers on the spot, or I would smell it. I'd smell the lies a mile away.
He'd smell a rat.
Kids believe anything. All right. I can tell Addison literally anything and she'll believe me. And if you just set the precedent that Addison on Christmas, all the presents, Santa brings all the I can make up literally anything. I can be like, Santa stopped by Aunt Carol's to get her present and brought all his presents too. What is she going to argue with me? I got a side deal with Santa. How does she know what I'm talking about with Santa?
All right. Well, I'm just saying you got to prepare a more elaborate story.
Yeah, let me tell you, in the Johnny B household, that I would be happy as a kid. Like, I was always thinking that Santa wouldn't come for some reason, and I was happy just to have one gift.
That's the other part of it.
Regardless of this new elves giving presents, I heard I was happy for one. It sounds like Braggs was.
I don't
want elves running around my house.
I woke up on Christmas Day. I had a mountain of presents. I mean, I had my sister and I. Well, it was me and my sister, and we'd come out, and there would be all the presents for both of us. So it looked like, a mountain of presents. It was a lot of fun, and they were all from different people. You guys didn't have that. You only had like 2 presents.
No, I had. You got a couple. Like, my parents would give me a couple of things, but then the majority would be from Santa Claus. So you'd see a couple gifts, but then the majority would be labeled from Santa Claus.
That's the other thing. Kids are playing you guys. Like Chubbs, he talks about, you got to have the presents not from Santa under the tree before Christmas. That gives no kid, like me, if I saw that there were presents under a tree before Christmas, then I'd know I don't need to behave.
But
what happened better be good for goodness sake. You got to be good. The kids think that if I'm not good, I'm not going to get my presents. If you already put the presents under the tree, then what's the
That's part of the excitement. Is you sometimes there's a tradition that you're allowed to open one gift on Christmas Eve, and that's a whole tradition. So there's gifts under the tree. The other thing that you miss out on by not having that is being a kid, knowing you can't open the gifts, and they're sitting there. It's the anticipation. You pick them up and you listen to them, you shake them. That is part of it too. That's a whole nother fun element that you're removing from the equation.
But that's spoiled. The kid has to have their present before it's not Christmas. Why are they holding a present before Christmas? It's not Christmas. You get your presents on Christmas. If you're touching your presents before Christmas, you're spoiled. You're calling me spoiled. I'm not spoiled. You guys are spoiled.
No, it teaches discipline. It teaches discipline.
Did you ever get a present, Jake, from Mrs. Claus?
Never in my life have I ever got a gift from Mrs. Claus.
And he's trying to
He
say
would get you the side gift, and then Santa's got you two of the final 2 big gifts were from Santa, when I got my PlayStation or my PlayStation 2 or N64, whatever it was, N64. When I got that was the one from Santa.
So you got an N64 and you got a bunch of other shit. And you're, oh my goodness.
You guys got this stuff too. Jake, you rode the same buses as I did, so I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what
lived in seasons. I was in
my house. Nice house.
My house was surrounded by cornfields. So I don't know what
Brandon wants to know if I still have See, and that's why the big discussion at our house has been going on, because Addison is now old enough where this is going to be the first Christmas she truly experiences, and Jenny is adamant that her family puts the aunt and uncle presents under the tree before Christmas. And I was like, she started to put under one day, and I was like, no, you don't put them under there, because I know what Addison's going to do. She's going to try to open it. She's 2.5, so she doesn't listen, for one. I mean, she might open it when I'm not looking. She does listen to me. I don't want to say she's total, delinquent, because she's not. She is very obedient, but she'd open it up if I'm not looking, and then what?
She's your child.
It's more fun to me how I grew up, where there was no presents under the tree, and then on Christmas Day you woke up to it was the night before, there was no presents. You're so excited for Santa. You're reading all the books. You're watching the movies. You're dreaming about the next day of all those presents being on the tree. Then you wake up to all the presents, and you haven't seen any of the boxes. So there's no guessing to what it is, picking it up and ruining everybody wants to ruin the surprise of Christmas. What did you get me? What did you get me? Let me see. No, this is the spirit of Christmas. So I just, that's where I'm at. Yeah,
I saw Chubbs. The over/under on Greg's amount of Christmas gifts is 48. I'm taking the over.
I think Greg's going to get more gifts than Addison this year.
48 presents.
I don't get many presents nowadays. I used to get ton. But
your mom makes you pancakes every day. You don't need presents.
She doesn't. She's made them 3 times, but now she doesn't even make them anymore.
I'm just kidding.
Storming off to church now. I can't even get her to make me the lettered pancakes anymore.
Well,
so I live a tough life over here. I'm back at home at my mom's, and I'm not going to get nothing for Christmas. It's all about Addison now. I get no attention. I used to get all the attention
for you. Custom made, Greg. 27-24, I picked the Bears. I'll give you this custom mask by one of my partners for the 49th Christmas gift for you this year. Number 49.
See, that kind of a present would be from Donner or Blitzen. That's the small presents were
the top. Why do you know Donner and Blitzen don't mean anything? They just give crap gifts?
No, it's like a buildup. So the little presents, the essentials, your mom gets you new underwear for the year.
Did you get a gift from Frosty the Snowman at any point in time in your life?
Probably.
Right. I can't deal with this anymore. This has gone too far.
Probably. So this was my video here. Look what's under the tree. You see what's under the tree? Nothing. No presents till Christmas, right?
That's not what I do.
Say, we wait till Christmas, right?
Boo.
Say, we wait till... Addie, say, we wait till Christmas.
Wait till Christmas. Not next year.
Wait till Christmas. High five.
Wait till Christmas.
Never.
You cheated because she just wanted to say Christmas.
She repeats anything I say. It's a beautiful thing. She loves me very much. So, it is what it is, but this is how I run my household. I'm very unique here. I shovel my own lawn. So you just kind of have to deal with me here at Braggs and Stans in my unique ways. And maybe if you guys just start, trusting me and following my lead, you might just learn something. You never know. Don't fight me so much. Just trust me.
You know what? Either way, you have a Merry Christmas. So if
You
like,
too.
I can see Greg's way being exciting, but I like having a couple gifts out. You're building character in a child if you make them wait for something too. If you say, "Hey, here's a gift, but you can't open it," yeah, it builds discipline.
We'll
Don't be
see
afraid
what
of it.
happens. But I agree. I want to wish Johnny B a Merry Christmas because I believe next week we are going to take the full week off and just do a pregame show on either maybe Saturday or Sunday after Christmas has concluded. Jake and I, of course, will do
Sunday
a post
morning.
show
Sunday morning.
on Sunday of this week after the Bears Vikings tilt. And hopefully we're talking about a Bears win. And hopefully I've got my new computer at this point, been waiting on it from Best Buy for a few weeks, but go ahead, Johnny, if you had some thoughts.
I am going to be in the stands, not with Greg, but with Johnny B. Sunday, December 27th at Arrowhead Stadium. I will be there. I'm going to make the trip for the Falcons at Arrowhead. So,
man, Johnny B going to 3 games this year, but you want to call me spoiled, and Chubbs calls me spoiled. 49 gifts
Johnny pays
from
for
the
those things. He
reindeer.
doesn't get them from reindeer.
yes, dude, I pay for everything. No one has paid my way ever.
No elves are bringing him.
Yeah,
any
you guys
football
never got.
tickets.
I forget. I'm the only one that gets Christmas presents.
Greg, do you know where I grew up? Do you know where I'm from?
Where are you from, Johnny B?
I'm from the southeast side of Chicago.
I knew
in
that.
Cal City, brother. We didn't have no 49 Christmas goods, brother. We didn't have elves giving us presents, man. It was a tough neighborhood, brother.
What about now? Do you get good Christmas presents now?
Not really.
See,
That was just a principle thing. You didn't get them then, you ain't getting them now.
I mean, I get a couple things, but I'm not about gifts, Greg. I'm about experiences. That's what I do.
I'm not about gifts anymore either. Everybody acts like I'm talking about when I was a kid.
Right. I would love to watch the playoffs right now for football. So I can't talk about presents for much longer.
Who do you have? Who do you have in your?
Oh, I have nobody, but I'm watching. But Mark's got 3 guys tonight. So
Mark's playing 3
guys. 3 guys on a Thursday, and one of them's he had to. One of them's Austin Eckler, and one of them's Keenan Allen. And you're not going to not play those guys.
Keenan, they said, was playing limited reps.
He is playing limited reps, but it's a hard choice. It's championship.
Who were his other options? That's terrible.
He could play T. Higgins. He could play.
Why wouldn't he pick up Darnell Mooney?
I don't know, because
I have bets in this game going. I have bets.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. I'm gonna
let's wrap it up. Johnny got his. Chubbs wants to say thank you again to Johnny B for his Dan Hampton Christmas present, and I want to thank
Christmas
all of you. I want to thank Johnny B as usual, always bringing the heat. I'm Braggs in the stands. Merry Christmas to you. We'll catch up with you here real soon. Johnny B, enjoy your game here next week after Christmas. And that wraps things up here at Braggs in the stands. I want to thank once again our guy Chris Emma from 670 The Score. He was a huge help, getting us ready here for Bears versus Vikings. Does a lot of great work on the Bears beat. Make sure you follow him at CMA670 on Twitter. I want to thank everybody from the chat that hung out all night, made the show a lot of fun. All your interactiveness, improves and enhances our show here. So for all you guys to hang out means a lot. Thanks again for all of you. I want to thank Danny Rocket and Al Fleischman once again for bringing us the Christmas spirit to end our show here on Braggs in the Stands. They're doing some great work. Make sure you follow Danny Rocket and the Sun Ranto show. They're going to be doing some Cubs Christmas caroling here coming up in the next few days. So make sure you follow at Sun Ranto on Twitter. So that wraps things up. I'm going to let Jake get to his football. He's still in a fantasy football championship. I am not, so I'm licking my wounds. We'll catch up with you here on Sunday after Bears Vikings. Enjoy your weekend. I got to get some dental work done tomorrow, so pray for me. I'll make out the will. And always bear down. We'll catch up with you on Sunday. We'll find out if I'll be all right. But thanks again, everybody. We'll catch up soon. Bear down.